Hi, everybody. Thanks for stopping by the channel today. Frank Lipsky here with ModernFireInstructor.com. And in this video, we're going to be doing a build with me where you can watch over my shoulder as I use SimShoeShare to build a simulation that we're going to use for training. Now, in today's scenario, we're going to build a ranch kitchen fire, basically, a single-story ranch home with a garage, and we'll have a kitchen fire. We want to work on initial size up strategy and tactics for the first arriving company officer. And don't forget, you can download the simulation from the description below. So if you want to use it at your own department, you don't have time to build it, feel free to go ahead and get that download. Now let's go ahead and build the simulation. All right, we're inside of SimShoeShare. We're going to start by going to a new simulation. And we'll go ahead and just name this one Kitchen Fire. And one thing you want to look out for here is in the top right corner, before you start importing any pictures, go ahead and click the hamburger menu here. And this is whether you're on an iOS device or on the computer. You want to choose Set Picture Compression. And by default, it's going to be set to max compression, which is obviously going to compress your images. And sometimes you can get some weird looks of like roof shingles and things like that when they're compressed. So I always choose no compression and choose OK. And then once you do that once for the simulation, it'll stay that way for the rest of the photos you bring in. So we'll go ahead and grab our photos here. And you'll see I have 6 photos that we're going to use. We have the A, B, C, and D sides of the structure. And then we have a view from the front door through the living room and into the dining room, basically. And then we have the view of the actual kitchen. So we're going to start by just bringing in the A side photo. So the first thing I like to do is rename this initial location, and I'll just make it side A. And now we're going to go ahead and choose new location. And this will be side B. And we're just going to work our way through. Here's where we could copy those assets if we had them from side A. And here we're going to do the B side. And these photos are pretty good. They're pretty well cropped and in the right location, so we don't need to make any changes there. And so now we're just going to do another new location for the C side. And then we'll go ahead and do our last one for the Delta side. Now, normally this would be all we would do if we were just doing a standard walk around. In this case, we are going to do those extra 2 views. So I'm going to go ahead and add them now. So my next location, I'm just going to call front door. And then my last one is going to be the kitchen view. So we'll go ahead and add that. All right, so we have all of our views. We'll go back out to side A, and we're just going to go ahead and start with our smoke and flames here. Now, I wasn't able to get a photo that had the door open, so you can see I have that glass screen door. I like to go ahead and cover those. So we're going to start with a shape here in the utility section. And we have this black shape here. And so what you want to do is you want to set the shape so that it's the proper height. That's all we're worried about right now, is we want it to cover from the top of the door to the bottom of the door. So we'll adjust and scale till we get that. And again, you can use your keyboard to move around. That looks pretty close. So now what we're going to do is adjust the narrow and widen parameters. So we go into our settings, we go to transform, narrow and widen, and now that's going to allow us to scale right and left, and we won't get any bigger top to bottom. So we want to get that about the size of the door. And again, I like to just move that over. So usually I'll put it here in front of the door so I can kind of see how it's measured. And that's actually pretty close, but we'll go back just so you can see it. When we transform, you can then adjust it and get it just where you want it for the door. I like that. So then we'll just put that into place. And I know that I'm going to change the opacity on this a little bit. So I go ahead and do that now. And we may tweak it again later, but I like to bring it all the way down. And you can see if you bring it to where you can see the door and then just come up a little, it actually gives kind of a look like the door's open and there's just smoke sort of coming up. So I kind of like that look about right there. And again, we can tweak that if we need to. Okay, the next thing we can do here is our smoke. And in this scenario, I just want to have a laminar type smoke that's coming out the front door. Obviously, I want a different color. Laminar by default is this whiter color. So we're going to change that in just a minute. So first I want to scale up. I do want it to be a little bit bigger. Okay, and the other thing I want to do, again, I'm going to go to narrow and widen. I like to make it wider. And the nice thing about this specific smoke, the laminar smoke, is it tends to stay nice and narrow at the bottom, which I think looks good. But it also gets wide. So the last two things we want to change here are the color and the speed. So we're going to go ahead and change the color to get kind of a, we don't need a crazy dark gray, but a nice gray there. And then we're going to change the speed. And for most of these, I try to be consistent, maybe keeping the speed around a 9 or a 10. That's pretty good for the laminar smoke there. So you can see just with that little bit of editing with the shape and with this, it looks a lot better than if we were just to grab this element of, you know, this type of smoke or something and just throw it on a window. I mean, you can see that doesn't look realistic at all, but by adding that shape, it definitely brings in the realism. All right, so that's all we're going to do on side A for now. Now, I mentioned earlier that we could copy and paste elements. So I know that the B side isn't going to really have any smoke because of the angle that I took the picture, but the Charlie side definitely will have all the smoke visible over the roof line. So what we want to do is grab this laminar smoke now and go ahead and copy it. Now we have it on our clipboard. So we'll go ahead and go to our Charlie side. And now back here, we need to build a mask, and then we need to put our smoke in there. So the first thing I'll do is new element, and we're going to put a mask in. And remember, we just lay that up on top, try to line up that top line, and then we go into our settings for mask boundary, and we just drag it along like that. Now in this case, we don't really need any additional boundary points. We should be just fine there. And the next thing we're going to do is choose the hamburger menu in the top right. And like we copied earlier, we're going to paste. And that pastes from our clipboard and puts our laminar smoke right there where we want it. Now in this case, I want to kind of get it situated about where we would see it over the roof line. It doesn't need to be crazy big or thick. I think that probably looks pretty good. And this is the selection rotator tool. If you haven't used that before, if you notice, when I click that tool over there on the toolbar on the right, it scrolls through all the elements I have on the screen. When I have the smoke here, I can't really get to my mask to edit it. But if I choose the selection rotator, it'll scroll through. And when I get the correct thing highlighted, so I want the mask highlighted, now I click on the mask, and now that you can see at the top it says CS mask. That's what I actually have selected. So now I can edit the properties of the mask. And we can go to which to mask. This is our gray laminar smoke. So yes, I want to mask the smoke. Click OK, and now we can see how it looks. And I think that's pretty good. I think it looks like I'm seeing a little bit of a line over here. Let me go back and see if we can change that. I'm going to grab the mask again. And then I'm going to choose mask boundaries, and I'm going to go ahead and move that over a little bit more, just so we can cover more of the picture. Then I'll go ahead and move this one over too. Okay, that looks better. Also grab the bottom ones. Just want to make sure I keep everything behind the mask. There we go. That's exactly what we're looking for. Sometimes you'll get a little blue line up here between the roof line and the smoke, and that's where you'll need to just adjust your mask down to get this nice clean line. All right, so that's all we're going to do back here in the Charlie side view. And so now we know that also our Delta side, we're not going to show any of the smoke. I mean, we could show just a little bit right here, but it's really not needed. So now we'll go ahead and go back to front door. And so this is our view into the dining room. We're going to have a kitchen fire that's coming, that's already up into the ceiling or onto the ceiling in the kitchen. And I kind of want it blowing out a little bit right here, coming out of the kitchen into the dining room. So we'll go ahead and start with the smoke. Let's put the fire in here first because we're going to do a little masking. So the first thing I want to do is choose the fire I want to use, which I like the ceiling fire. And I'll just kind of scroll it down a little. And we'll rotate it. And what I'm thinking is I want it to be kind of up in this area here on the other side of this wall. And I just want to see a little bit of it kind of poking out from behind there. And so what we want to do is scale this down a little. Something like that. And maybe I want it, sort of right in here. Okay, so that's where it's going to end up going. So what I have to do, I'm just going to move that out of the way. And I'm going to put another mask in here. And we'll just set that mask up right on this wall. Adjust our boundary. Just like that. And then we can do which to mask. And we'll choose our ceiling fire. And then we can go ahead and just bring that over. We'll just kind of get an idea what it looks like and what we need to change on the mask. Okay, so that's pretty good. We actually have a nice mask there. I might change the angle of this so it looks more like it's coming sort of up. So we'll grab the fire there. Maybe rotate it around. And you can play with this, to get it just how, whatever you're looking for. Now I can see it's going to be sticking out through the top there, so that may not look good. It may need to be more like this. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so that's closer to what I want, but I do want it back further. There we go. I think that's pretty good. I just want it coming from around the corner. And that's all we're going to do on this view. Now I do want to change the speed of that because it's still a little bit fast. And again, you could adjust different things like the color, a little bit of the brightness or opacity. Might try just a little bit of brightness to get it a little darker. Maybe something like that. And I think I brought the speed down just a touch too much. We'll go to about 12, 13. All right, that looks good. We'll just take a quick view. Okay, so we like that. Now we need to go ahead and put our smoke conditions in, whatever they would see here coming in. Now, one of the smoke scenes that you can use that works pretty well in this scenario when you have a nice flat ceiling like that is your banking down smoke. And you can see I can just bring it up to the top of the photo. And we're going to scale this quite a bit. And again, we could also do narrow and widen. If I wanted this to be the full width of the photo here, but I didn't want it to be all the way down to the ground, which is what I want to do. So I want it about right there. Looks like I can just about, I can actually get it the way I want without having to do the narrow and widen. I like that. I want to leave a little white area down here. So we're going to change a few things here. We're going to slow the speed down a little bit. Maybe around 10, 12. That looks pretty good. And I actually like the opacity, but you can see I've blacked out my flame to where I can't see it. So we do need to change that. So we're going to grab it again and go to opacity. Come down a little bit till we get to where we can see our flames. Okay. And we'll take a quick look. Okay, and that's looking good. The one thing that I normally don't like about just one type of smoke like this is it's not very realistic for what we would have in this situation. We would have this fire, but there would be much more smoke up here, and it'd be a little bit less visibility. So what I like to do is just layer a different type of smoke right on top of that. So what we're going to do now is more smoke. And this time I'm going to use the laminar again like we did before. When you scale the laminar smoke up really big like this and kind of drop it down, you can get it where it's sort of obscuring the view of the firefighters coming in, but it's not necessarily blocking the scene. So I still can see the fire over there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Again, we're going to change the speed to around 12 or 14. And we're going to change the color again on this as well. We kind of want it to match pretty similar to the color outside. Just a darker, generalized smoke. And what you can do here is you can go pretty dark with it and then go back and touch the opacity. It's kind of a fine line between the color and the opacity a lot of times on this type of smoke to get what you're looking for. Okay, so that's pretty good. We'll play that. There we go. That's pretty realistic. I like that. They can see the fire there. They got some smoke. And again, you may need to adjust this opacity and play with it to get it just to what you're looking for. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move into, I know that I'm going to use this again, by the way, so I'm going to grab this smoke here, the gray laminar, and I'm going to put that on my clipboard. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead into the kitchen view. And from here, I don't want to paste that smoke in here because it'll cover up all my other stuff. But for right now, I want to start with new elements, and we're just going to get our fire. So usually here you can use the basic cloud. I kind of like the ceiling fire as well. Let's try that one. We can kind of scale that up, and it looks pretty good with the cabinets and the roof and all that. So we'll go ahead and scale this one up a little bit. We'll put this up here. And then I'm actually going to grab another one, and I'm going to put the same type of fire across over on the other side. But it's going to kind of be off the screen a little bit, scaled up. Kind of like it's up here. And they can sort of overlap there. And again, the speed, we can see we need to adjust that down to around the 10 to 12 range. There we go. I do need to adjust the speed on the other flame to make them even. All right, so that looks pretty good. And now we're going to go ahead and do our smoke here. And we'll probably just do the same look. So we'll do, I'm going to actually go back to the previous scenario, and I'm just going to copy and paste both of those so that I get a consistent look. So in this case, we'll go back to front door, and we'll grab our filled room smoke. So this is our banking down. We're going to copy that first. And now we can go ahead and go back to the kitchen, and we'll paste it. And then we'll just do the same thing real quick. And this goes back to what I was talking about before. If you only have a few elements, it's not a big deal to just sort of do those separately like this. But if you were doing this with a lot of elements, you would want to go ahead and create one of your views and then copy those assets when you're creating the actual view, like we'd mentioned. So now we'll come in here, and I'm going to paste this. Okay, and we'll just take a look before we edit anything. That's actually pretty good already. I want to move this up here so this fire is kind of covering this counter down in the bottom left corner. That's one thing I want to change. So that's right here, and we'll just bring that down there, scale it a little. Kind of move it back into position. All right, so that looks pretty good. We'll play that. Oh yeah, I really like that. So now we probably just need to darken up a little bit of the smoke, and we're good to go. And we can probably get away with just doing the laminar smoke, letting that get a little darker, and then also changing the color. That's pretty good. There we go. We'll take a look at that. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. All right. And so now in this scenario. We're finished with the actual simulation. Now we want to build the control module to be able to move around the simulation. Now, obviously, there's a couple different scenarios here. We could be using this with the CTC where we don't want the control cluster, or we can do it, with it, and we're going to have it where it's a self-running simulation where the user can actually move around or the instructor can. So we'll go ahead and show you how to do that. You can always take it off if you don't need it in your scenario. We want to go to Walk Around Maker under Navigation. And we're going to start by bringing in just our standard sides of the building. So you just select the one you want and bring them over. And I like to just bring them over in order, A, B, C, and D. Okay. And now we're going to choose Make Loop here, which is going to make a loop of these 4 parts of the building. We're going to go right to left, and we're ready to go. So we hit Make Loop, and that's done. And you'll see now if I go to the A side and I play, I have my control cluster here. And as I hit to the left, I go around the building that way. And as I hit to the right, I can go that way. And of course, we can go, back and forth. We don't have to go all the way around. So now what I want to do is add the ability to go in the front door and then into the kitchen. So we're going to go back and we're going to go to the side of the building that we want to start from. So side A is where I want to start from. And we want to go to Set Navigation. And by doing that, you can see here it says side A at the top. So basically, I'm setting the navigation cluster here as if I was standing in front of side A. Now, if we want to change that, we can grab here and we can go from different perspectives. And so in our case, we want to start with side A. And we want to say, when we're at side A, if we push this front button, which again, it's made it active, it's pink there, I want that to take me to front door. So I choose front door. And we want to be sure that reciprocal navigation is checked here. That means that whenever I put one arrow in, there will automatically be the arrow to go back to where I started from. Okay, so that's all we need to do for there. And I'm going to go ahead and show you that, and then we'll continue on. So when we play here, we go forward, we're in the front room, and we go back. All right. So now let's add that last one. We're going to again go to Set Navigation. This time we want our perspective to be from the front door. So we're at the front door view. If we go backwards, we go out to side A. And if we go forward, we go to the kitchen. Again, with reciprocal changes on, and we hit done. And now we have all of our control cluster here. We go forward into that room. We can go back out to the front door, or we can go into the kitchen, and then we can go back out to the living room. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that Build With Me video of the single-story ranch kitchen fire. And if you'd like to download the simulation, like I mentioned before, it's in the description below, as well as our affiliate links. If you're not yet a user of SimJuiceShare and you'd like to check it out, we'd really appreciate if you could use our affiliate link to make that purchase. Helps us support the channel and keep making these free videos for you. Also, if you purchase through our affiliate link, we do have some extra bonuses and simulations that we will provide from Modern Fire Instructor, things that I've created that you can just load right up into your software after you purchase it, and you'll have some pre-built simulations like the ones we build here on the channel. So again, thanks for watching. Really appreciate you stopping by. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. And as always, like, subscribe, and share the video. Have a great day. Thanks.